Welcome to the third in a series of screencasts showcasing the WHO UNICEF JMP database. These screencasts are aimed at people who have a basic knowledge of the JMP indicators and an interest in data analysis. In this video, we're going to look at how to create our own charts from scratch. Let's start by going to the data dashboard and then let's create a chart. We now have four options to choose from: ladder, inequality, rank and trend. Let's start with a ladder chart. This defaults to world, all service types, showing the total population in 2015. We have the option to change the geography, measure, inequality, ladder type and time period, as we have seen in the previous screencast. So let's just have a look at the options here. We can add in for rural and urban, and we can add in an extra year. Okay, pretty simple. So we'll just trash that. And let's take a look at the inequality chart. This defaults to a specific country, Afghanistan, and can be used to show the differences in service coverage between the richest and poorest quintiles. In this case, the chart shows the percentage coverage for basic drinking water varies across the wealth quintiles, with a huge degree of inequality, as shown by a very steep line here. If we add in another country, say Thailand, we can see a big difference in overall coverage between the two countries, and also that the gap between rich and poor is much smaller in Thailand. It's worth noting here that the inequality chart shows the latest survey data only, so there's no option to select different years here. The toolbar is also more limited than on other chart types due to the limited availability of data disaggregated by wealth quintile. Okay, let's have a look at the rank chart now. This chart type has defaults set and shows us all countries in the world, basic and safely managed coverage, ranked by the total height of the bar, that is the population with at least a basic level of service. In the geography drop-downs at the top, you have the option to see the rankings at the global, country, regional or subnational regional level. There are also a few options specific to this chart type available to you. Firstly, you can see the rankings for all, as we have here, or just the top 10 or bottom 10, as we can see here. So this is the bottom 10 for all service levels for drinking water, and the top 10. You can also choose to measure not only by coverage, population and the three service types as usual, but also by percentage point change in coverage between 2000 and 2015, or the percentage point difference between richest and poorest in 2015 only. So when we first view the chart, it is sorting the rankings by the percentage of the population with access to safely managed or basic water. But if we switch to population, we'll get quite a different chart, as we now see the number of people with access, and so unsurprisingly China comes out on top due to its huge population. Let's switch to percentage point change, and this shows how much coverage has increased or decreased between 2000 and 2015. And as we can see, Afghanistan leads this, with a 36% increase in coverage of at least basic drinking water services. Let's switch to wealth inequalities. So this ranks countries by the size of the gap in coverage between the poorest and richest wealth quintiles. And the biggest difference, as you can see, is Zambia, with 76 percentage points. And if we switch to the bottom 10, The smallest difference is Jordan with 0 percentage points. Okay, let's have a look at the trend chart. So this displays the same data as the ladder chart, but shows how things have changed over a certain time period. Let's look at a shorter time period. So we'll just select 2010. And then we'll focus on just one country. So let's have a look at Afghanistan again. As with the ladder chart, we can either see this data by coverage or population. 50% of the population of Afghanistan had access to basic water services in 2010, and by 2015 this had risen to nearly 63%. If we have a look at what this means in terms of population, we can see this amounts to just under 14 million people in 2010, rising to just over 20 million in 2015. Due to the limited availability of data disaggregated by wealth quintiles, options in the toolbar are limited. So for example, we can only measure by drinking water and sanitation, but not hygiene. Before we look at the options for downloading our custom chart, it's worth noting that you can add multiple charts to your grid by clicking the plus icon at the top and then choosing your chart type. So we'll do that very quickly. So we'll add a new ladder chart. We can now edit it. I'm going to trash that for now. And now we're back to our previous chart. I'll go back to edit mode. We'll cover this feature in a bit more detail in Screencast 4, Creating a Data Dashboard. So feel free to check that out after this one. Now that we've created our custom chart, we're ready to download and share it with others. Before we do that, let's edit the chart title. We'll just call it My Chart. We can toggle the data labels on and off by clicking on the label icon in the bottom right. And so we have a few options for downloading the chart. We can download it as an image. I'll just have a look at that. Okay. We can also grab the URL and share that with via email, etc. And we'll just have a quick look at that, just to confirm that's the same chart. Yep. And you can also download the data behind the chart as a CSV down here. I'll just open that up. Okay. Screencast 5, downloading data, covers all of this in a bit more detail and shows other data files you can download, so do check that out as well. Okay, before we finish, it's worth pointing out one more feature available to you, creating a map. So clicking on the Create Map button takes you to a page where you can see a heat map of the data at a global level. And you have some options available to you to select the different types of data that you want to analyze and display on the map. So we can change to a different measure, and switch to population, and we could even just look by rural and change the facility type. Okay. So that concludes our tour of how to create your own chart. In this video, we've seen how to create a ladder chart, an inequality chart, a rank chart, and a trend chart. Also download a custom chart and create a map. Please check out the other videos in this series to see how you can get the most out of the JMP data tool.